All right, so yesterday we looked at section 4.1, and the type of equation we used yesterday, does anybody remember what the name of it was? It wasn't called point slope. It was called, slope intercept. Okay, and that means you needed two things to do it. The slope, which, what letter is usually the slope? Yep. Yep. M. So M is the slope. And the intercept is B. So notice in the title here, it doesn't say anything about intercept. It says point slope. So guess what the two things you're going to need for today are? A point and a slope. So those are the two things that we're going to work with. And the equation is going to look a little different. It's not going to be y equals mx plus b. It's going to be the formula that you're going to put in this box right at the top. So this is another way of writing the equation of a line. It's still a line, just like we did yesterday. It's just a different way to do it. So the equation is y minus y1 equals m, and then in parentheses, x minus x1. Now, do you see a b anywhere in that equation? No, there's no b there. That's because you do not have to find the y-intercept today. I'm not going to use it. So m is the same thing it stood for yesterday. M is the slope. y1 and x1 is the coordinate, or the point that they give you. So y1 and x1, that's the point part, which we also call a coordinate. And the m part, that's the slope. The three things that I just put a box around, those are the three things you have to find. Just like when we did y equals mx plus b. We had to find the m, and we had to find the b. Today, we have to find the m, and we have to find the x1 and the y1. So when you write a final answer today, it's going to look, this is just an example, I'm just making up these numbers. Say y minus 2 equals m times x minus 5. We would need a value for m, let's say 3. That's what a final answer is going to look like today. You're going to fill in a number for y1, you're going to fill in a number for m, and you're going to fill in a number for x1. This letter stays right where it is. Nothing happens to it. This letter stays right where it is. Nothing happens to it. So that's what a final answer looks like. It's a little different than y equals mx plus b. Does everybody have that formula? All right, so what we'll do is we're going to go through each one of these 5 letters and just write down again what each one of them means and which ones stay the same in the final answer and which 3 change. All right, so first example, it says write an equation in point slope form given the slope and a coordinate. So they gave us everything we needed, and I think you guys already have this written down. The coordinate, I think, broke off on your page. That's kind of bad, but the coordinate is 8, 3. And the slope is 1/4. Do you guys have the slope already printed on yours too? Okay. So let's talk about each letter in this formula. So there's 5 of them. The first one is y. The y is going to stay as y. You're not going to change the y at all. That's that. That stays the same. Oops, sorry. So on the first line where it has a y and then a colon, on the blank you can put in y stays as y. It stays the same. Don't fill anything in for that. Now, the next piece of information is y1. This has to be given to you in the problem. Does anyone have a guess, looking at these two numbers and that number, which one of those three numbers is y1 in this case? Yep.
3.
Yep. It's going to be the 3. It's the y value in the coordinate they gave you. They didn't give you a second coordinate. So you don't have a y2 and an x2 in this one. You only have one coordinate this time. So y1 is the number that comes after the comma in the coordinate they give you. So in this case, it's a 3. So I'm just going to put that at the end there because this time it's a 3. It's not always going to be a 3. This time it's a 3. Okay, the next one is m. So we've already used the 3. So there's two numbers left, 8 and 1/4. Does anyone think they know which number is going to be m? Michael? You 1/4, yep. So m is the slope that's given, which in this case is 1/4. All right, now x is just like the first one. It's just like y. X is going to stay the same. The x stays as an x. You will never plug anything in for x. But there's still one more thing we have to fill in. And that's the x1. x1 is going to come from something they give you. Does anybody think they know what x1 is going to be in this problem? Yep. 8. It's the 8. Yep. So the x1 comes from the first number they give you in the coordinate. It's the number before the comma. 8. All right, so let's see if we can write the equation of the line that passes through the point 8, 3, and it has a slope of 1/4. And we're going to write this in what's called point slope form. So take what's written in red and fill in this one, and that one. All right, let's go through it. So first thing you put down is parentheses. So we have, did I use a parenthesis on that one? Actually, you don't need the parentheses. We'll just leave that off. Because that's how I had you guys write it on this page, without the parentheses here. All right, let's start with y. What's going to happen to the y? Yep. Stays the same. The y stays as y. Y minus y1. Brady, what's y1 in our problem? 3. Y1 is the number that comes after the comma in the coordinate. So that's 3. Okay, so there's your first part. So we've got the y, we've got the minus, we've got the y1. What comes right after the y1 in the formula? Right, directly after the y1. Have it? Yep, we need the equal sign. So equals. And then what's going to come after? Okay, so after the equals, we have an m. What are we going to fill in for m in our problem? Yep, 1/4. Okay, we figured out that was m. What comes right after the m? And this is important, we don't forget this. Yeah? Parenthesis. We need to put parenthesis. So we got a parenthesis. And the next thing is x. Natalie, what do we do to the x? Keep it the same. The x is just going to stay as an x. Then we're going to put a minus. And Anaya, after the minus is x1. But it says we need to fill in something for x1. What are we going to fill in?
It's an 8.
Yep, fill in an 8. And there's one more thing I need to finish off that answer. Yep, I need another parenthesis. And there you go. That is how you write the equation of a line in what's called point slope form. Okay, we'll practice. We'll try another one of those. But any questions on this? Now, when you do slope intercept, that's what we did yesterday. What letter is always by itself on the left? This is what we did yesterday. Yeah? We always have a y by itself on the left. Well, in part 2, we're going to learn how to change from point slope, which is what I just showed you, to what we did yesterday, slope intercept. Okay, so there is a way to take this and make it look like what we did yesterday, now that we have it. And I'm going to show you what we have to do. First thing is, you have a number on the outside of parentheses. When we do y equals mx plus b, are there any parentheses in that? Abby? No. So we can't have parentheses. We have a number in front of parentheses. Does anybody remember what property you normally do when you have something on the outside of parentheses? Yep. Distribute. So that's going to be your first step. Okay, you have to distribute this number to what's in the parentheses. So we have to distribute the number that's outside the parentheses to what's inside. Make sure you include the sign. So like if this was a negative 1/4, you would be distributing a negative with the 1/4. In this case, it's not negative. Okay, so that's the first step. You have to distribute. And that'll make the right side good, right? Because we won't have the parentheses anymore. But what number did we say is supposed to, or what did we say is supposed to be alone on the left? When we do slope intercept. Yep. You're supposed to have the y by itself. You're not supposed to have plus or minus a number. So the next part is to get rid of that number. In this case, it's a minus 3. If you wanted to get rid of a minus 3, what would you do on each side? What's the opposite of minus 3? Yep. You would have to add 3. And that's how you change this one into slope-intercept form. You'd first have to distribute, and then you'd have to add the 3 to the other side. So that's the last step. So add or subtract, it's going to be one of the two. In this problem, it would be add. But you add or subtract the number that's with the y to the other side. You've got a little bit of space below that, so let me show you one example. I don't want to do this one because it has a fraction of 1/4. I want to do something without a fraction to start. So let's say you had a problem like y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 4. So let's say you did a problem out, and that's the answer that you got in slope, point slope form. Okay, so this is point slope. And we want to change it to slope intercept. What's the first thing you have to do with the 3? What did we say? Yep. Yep. So the first thing you have to do is distribute that out by multiplying. So for now, keep the y minus 2 right where it is. Let's do that. If I distribute the 3, can anybody tell me what I get? Yep. Yep, can you tell me what I get there? So 3 times x. 3x. Okay. And can somebody else tell me what's 3 times negative 4? Yeah.
Negative 12.
Negative 12. Okay, so that's your first step. Okay. Now, this equation right here, it's in between. It's not point slope anymore, but it's also not slope intercept because we don't have the y by itself. It's like it's in the middle of the two. So I did the distributive, and now I need to get rid of this minus 2. So what would I do to get the y by itself and put this minus 2 on the other side? Just in there. We would add 2. And we would add 2. Negative 2 plus 2 cancels out. And what do I have on the left side now? We just have the y. And what am I going to have on the right? And negative 10. Exactly. So that is slope intercept. If you were to draw this one on paper, and you were to draw this bottom one on paper, they are the exact same thing. The top one is just a different way of writing the bottom. That's all. But sometimes they'll ask you to take your answer and change it from point slope form into slope intercept. Not all. Sometimes you can leave it like that and you're done. But if they ask you to change it, those are the 2 steps. Use the distributive property, and then take the number with the y and put it on the other side. Any question on that? Okay, so let's try. Let's try this one. Now, it doesn't say anything here about changing it to slope-intercept form. So once we get the answer in point slope, we're done. We don't have to do anything else. The first thing I usually do is I write down the formula that I need. So hopefully you'd have it on your reference sheet, because you can make one for the test, and you'd look at that formula right now. Can someone remind me, what is my formula for point slope? You don't have to fill anything in, just the formula. Yep.
Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1.
Yep. And remember, you're going to fill in for three things. Let's just go right in order and see what happens. Aiden, what do I do to the y? Not sure. Can I help them out? What do we do to the y? So think back to all those 5 blanks we had. It's the top. Yeah? Keep it the same. So remember, the y stays as y. So nothing changes there. Minus. Okay, so copied my y down, copied my minus down. The next thing I need is y1. Y1 is something we have to fill in for. Anybody tell me what number is y1 there? Yep. -1. So be careful when you write this. You have a minus from the formula, and then we have another minus from the -1. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. So it's y minus y1. Put our equal sign. And how about m? Is m something that stays as m? Or do I have to fill in a number? Yeah? I have to fill in a number. So now we need to figure out what number, it's not -1, but what number that's left up there is my m. Yeah? -2, that's my slope. So I got my slope. Next thing I need after the m is a parenthesis. You have to put that parenthesis. Okay, how about the x? Nia, what's going to happen to the x? It stays the same. The x stays as an x. The minus gets copied down. And the x1 is a number I need. So where is my x1 in that information? That would be the 3. And one more thing I need to finish that answer. Yep, I need to finish with my parentheses. And that's the final answer. Well, there's one thing I could fix. When I have y minus -1, what really happens when you minus a minus, yeah?
Cancels it out. Or not cancels it out, but makes it a positive.
Makes it a positive. So instead of writing minus a minus, I'm just going to make that a plus. And that is your final answer. And what's this called? Is this point slope or slope intercept? Yeah? This is point slope. Yep. And that's it. Now, if they wanted slope intercept, what's the first thing that you would do on the right-hand side? If they wanted slope intercept. Yeah?
Distribute the -2.
You would distribute that -2. So you'd have -2x plus 6. So that'd be the first thing. And then what's the last thing you would have to do? Yeah? You would have to subtract this +1 to the other side. So you do a -1 here and a -1 here. But after you distribute it. So distribute and then subtract 1. Okay. Let's see. this one. So this looks kind of like what we did yesterday, a little bit. But can anyone tell me what is different about the points they gave you? Yeah?
There's no 0.
There's no number with 0. It looks like the number with 0 would be off the grid, so we can't really tell where it would be. They didn't give us a number with 0. So if they don't give you a number with 0, then you're not going to be doing what we learned yesterday because you don't know B. You're going to have to do what we learned today. So let's write down our formula. And does anybody see something I can get from that picture that represents one of the letters in this problem just by counting? Yeah.
Slope.
The slope. I don't have the slope, but they gave me a picture. So I can find the slope by just counting. So let's start from here and go to here. How many, well, first of all, to get from this point to that point, do I go up or do I go down? Yep. I go down. And how many do I go down? 4. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went down 4. When I go down, is that my rise or is that my run? Yep. That's my rise. And because it is down, what kind of number should it be? Should be a negative. So down 4. And then my run is how many I go right. How many would I go right in this case?
2.
Yep, we'll go right 2. 1, 2. So this is going to be my slope. Down 4, right 2. What's negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. Okay, so now you have your slope. That's just like it was in the last problem. They give you a slope. Now the other thing you need, because we're doing point slope, we can't go to slope intercept right away. Remember, I told you you can't get the intercept from this picture. It's the number with 0 and they didn't give it to you. So you have to do point slope first. So you've got your slope, but now you need a point. How many points did they give you in that picture? Yeah?
2.
They gave you 2, which you only need to use one of them. You need a point and you need the slope. You pick whichever point you want. Doesn't matter which one you pick. You'll be right both ways. I would pick the one that you think the numbers are easier. So for our point, which point do you want to use? Do you want to use the 1, 2 or 3, negative 2? Yep. 1, 2. So then we're going to forget about the 3, negative 2. We don't need it for this problem. We needed it to get the slope. But now we're done with it. So here's my point. 1, 2. Here's my slope. Negative 2. It's exactly like this problem. Here's your point. Here's your slope. So let's fill in these numbers into this formula. All right, and we'll just go left to right. So start with the y. Mia, what's going to happen to the y?
It's going to stay the same.
Stays the same. So copy that down. Alyssa, what's going to happen to my y1? Stay the same, or is it going to change? It's going to change. So we need to fill in the number that it changes to. Here are your 3 choices. Negative 2, 1, and 2. The negative 2 is not equal to the y1. What's the negative 2 equal to? So what does it say up there? It says the negative 2 equals m. So negative 2 is going to be the m. Anyone else think they know which one the y1 is? Yep. It's the 2. It's the number that comes after the comma in the coordinate. And if you're wondering, well, why didn't we use this coordinate? We could have. I asked you guys which one you wanted to use, and somebody said the 1 and 2. So it doesn't matter which one you use. The answer will come out the same. All right, so the y1 is 2. Dorian, what comes after the 2?
Equals.
Yep, we need an equals. Now after the equals, we have an m. Jacinda, does the m stay the same, or does it change? It changes. And what are we going to change the m to in this problem? Negative 2, because that was my slope. So negative 2. Tirza, what comes right after the negative 2? Before that. Parenthesis. Okay. Now, the next thing is the x. Does the x stay the same, or does it change? Yeah. Stays the same. So I put my x down, put my minus down. The next thing is x1. Sean, does x1 stay the same or change? It changes. What are we going to change it to in this one? 1. It's the number before the comma in the coordinate. Why didn't we use 3? Because we chose not to. So once we choose not to use this point, forget about it. Don't look at it at all. Just use the point we chose. So x1 is 1. And Aiden, what's the last thing I need? Parenthesis. Need a parenthesis. All right, so we've written our equation. What format is that? Yeah. No, it's not slope intercept. Yeah. Point slope. Yes. That's point slope. If it was slope intercept, it would look like this. Well, that's what they want. Why didn't I just do that right away? If that's what they wanted, I should have just done this right away, but I couldn't. Does anybody remember why we couldn't? What made this problem different than the kind of problem we did yesterday? Because we had problems similar to this yesterday, where we had a graph, and we did slope intercept right away. Why not do that with this one? There's something different about this. Yeah?
Because we don't have the y-intercept.
We don't have the y-intercept. They didn't give you the number with 0. So you couldn't take this and do y equals mx plus b right away because you have no idea what the b is. It's the number with 0. And it's not here. So the only choice you had was to do the other format first. I think I write that right here. So we already did this. We had to find the slope first. All right. You know what? I'll give you time to copy that before I go any further. So in this type of problem, you're given 2 points. So we have to, and then there's a blank, find the slope first. Okay, we did that. Rise over run. Then the next thing we did, and we already wrote this down, what is the formula to calculate the slope between 2 points? That was the rise over run. So I don't even think you have a spot to... Actually, do you guys have a spot that says find and then using? Okay, so you have that? Okay, let's put that down then. You can do it either way. If you have a picture, it's easier to count. If you don't have a picture, well, then you're going to have to find the slope the way we practiced in the warm-up. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But that's the same as yesterday. Okay, so find the slope using that formula. And that's what we did. And then next, pick one of the coordinates to use. I told you it didn't matter which one, either one. But pick the one that you think is the easiest. Find the slope. Pick one of the coordinates. So this should go on the line that says next, comma, and I think you have enough room that there's two lines to write. Now, once you choose one of the coordinates, you're going to have a coordinate. You're going to have the slope. And once you have a coordinate and a slope, it's just like this problem. Coordinate and slope. So from here, you follow all the same steps that we've already. So that's the last thing. Then follow the same steps that we've done before. So we're right here in our formula, or our problem. We are up to the point where we have an equation, and it's in point slope. But the direction said slope intercept. So we've got to take our point slope, and now we have to change it to slope intercept. So I'll give people a second to copy that, and then we'll go back up and finish that up. Yes. Yeah, just hang on. Okay, let's go back up. And here's our equation right now in point slope. Can somebody remind me the first thing I have to do to change this to slope intercept? What's the first thing? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Alyssa. Yep, we have to distribute. So let's take care of that. How about, Anaya, what's negative 2 times x?
Negative 2x.
Yep. And what about negative 2 times negative 1?
2.
2. Okay, now that we've distributed, this equation right here isn't in any form. It's halfway between point slope and slope intercept. It's like it's in the middle. The last thing I have to do is get rid of this minus 2. How do we get rid of the minus 2 and get y by itself? How about 9?
Distribute the 2. We'll add the 2 to the other one.
So we're going to add the 2. Where do you want to do it?
To the other 2 on the other side.
Yep. And where else?
Negative 2x.
We've already added it on the right, so we took care of that.
Oh, just on the other minus 2.
On the other minus 2, so we're going to do it on the left. So that's gone. And Joe, what do I get for a final answer there?
equals negative 2x
Yep.
plus 4.
Plus 4. Perfect. So now, by converting it to slope-intercept, we know the y-intercept now. What's the y-intercept in that equation? Yep, 4. Look at your graph. I know it goes off the graph, but if I extend this up, and I draw, the grid the best I can, this is 2, this is 3. If I continue this line, look at that. Looks like it crosses exactly at 4, because that's my y-intercept. Now you can't just draw it like that and assume it's 4. You have to figure it out this way, because what if it was like 20? That's way off the graph. So we're not going to be able to figure it out. Any question on that one? Okay, let's try. We'll definitely have enough time for 4. Let's try that one. So it says to write the equation. And it didn't say what format to use. So I would use whichever one is easier. Point slope, what we did yesterday. I think what we did today is going to be easier. Even though they're written a little different, these two things that they just gave you are really like one. Even though they're written a little different there. Yep. They're just like coordinates. Can somebody tell me what that one would be as a coordinate? Yeah. That's 4, -2. And how about this one? Monica?
8, 4.
8, 4. Okay. Can we do this like we learned yesterday? What do you think? Can we do this problem like we learned yesterday? Michael?
Yeah, you can do it either way.
What was the name of the equation we learned yesterday? What was that format called? Slope-intercept. What's my intercept here?
Oh, never mind. You can't figure it out because number plus the 0.
Right, we don't have coordinate with a 0. If we're missing that, then what we learned yesterday, we've got to throw that out. It's not going to work. So you have to do what we learned today. All right. You guys already know that. This number is the x, that number is the y. You don't have to write that. We already wrote that yesterday. Most of you did that fine, so don't worry about that. All right, so this is my equation. How about, let's see, Brady, can you tell me one of the things I have to fill in for here?
You're going to have to fill in y1.
I'm going to have to fill in the y1. Yep. Well, hold off on that for 1 second. Can somebody tell me something else I need to fill in? Yep.
The slope.
The slope. Yep. And what's one other thing I have to fill in? Yep.
The x1.
The x1. The x1 and the y1 are going to come from a coordinate. You can pick either one. It doesn't matter which one you use. So, do we want to use the 8, 4 or the 4, -2? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're going to use the 8, 4 when we fill in the x1 and the y1. But we still need the slope. Can someone remind me what is my formula for slope? I can't count this time because I don't have a picture. So I have to do it this way. Someone remind me what goes in the top. Yep.
y2 minus y1.
y2 minus y1. Yep. And what goes in the bottom? 8. x2 minus x1. Okay, let's label these points. That's my first x. That's my first y. For the next coordinate, this will be, let's see, the 8. I'm just going to put it over here. That'll be my second x. And the 4 is my second y. I just didn't have enough space to write it. Okay, so Joe, what number is going to go in the upper left? Okay, what letter goes in the upper left? Can you remind me?
Y.
Y.
1.
2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah. So what's Y2?
4.
4. Emily, Y1? -2. Good. Okay. How about Cadence X2? Yep, that one's 8. And X1 is 4. Okay, let me just move that so I have some more space. 4 minus -2. Jacinda, what's going to happen there? Yep, so it's going to become 4 plus 2. And then Dorian, 8 minus 4 is 4. And that reduces to 3 over 2. Okay, so there's my slope. And here is my coordinate. So now let's just start filling it in. Sean, what happens to the y? Stays the same. How about y1? We have a box around it, so we know it has to change. Y1 is, yeah, it doesn't matter which coordinate we use. I thought somebody earlier suggested we use this one, but it doesn't matter. You want to use this one instead? Okay, yeah, we can use that one. It doesn't matter. So y1 is -2 equals, what's my m? 3 over 2. We need a parenthesis. How about Annika, what happens to the x?
It stays X.
It stays x. And then we need the minus. What happens to x1? What does that become? And remember, we're using the other coordinate, which is fine. We can use that one. Yep. Becomes a 4. And the last thing I need to finish that off, yep, a parenthesis. Perfect. The only thing I would do here is where it says minus a minus, I would just make it a plus. You wouldn't get marked wrong if you didn't do that, but you should. All right. So the homework for tonight is on Schoology, and it's the 4.2 worksheet. Okay, tomorrow we will finish up everything, I think, for the week, and the plan is to have our test on Thursday. All right, good job, guys.